All right, good evening, guys. This is July 6th, 2026. The happy 4th, like I said to everybody. This is the Q&A with Tria from the Tria with me, Erik Timmermans. I'm going to dive into some real estate data, and it's going to look really good. And then we start diving in a little bit. So I get my real estate data from websites like the NAR. I get it from realtor.com. I get it from other platforms. And I compare real estate data with what is going on in the economy, right? The real estate is driven by the economy. People need to be able to afford a home to buy a home. So they need to have a job. And that's what I'm looking at, and I'm looking at that data. So the first thing I looked at is, where are our pending home sales? So pending home sales in the nation are up month over month by 3.8%, year over year by 4.8%. So we see the same amount. We see in the same amount of time, we see an increase year over year. We see a 4.8% increase month over month between May and June. This is June data. I know we're in July, but of course, people are still gathering that data. So month over month, we're up by 3.8%. That is pending home sales. So that means people that have put their property under contract in between May and June and have not closed yet. So these people are still having to close and are still pending in a contract. Then we go to the existing home sales. Existing means they have closed. They were under contract earlier in the year, early in the month, and these have people that have closed. So the existing home sales increased by 3.2%, meaning there is a movement going on. People are ready to start getting in their homes. So then you start to think, why all of a sudden, why are people now buying? We are in the end of the real estate market, right? Like, or the end, we're kind of, we're trending towards the end. The real estate market is always from around March, April, and it picks up, and then it definitely dies down around the 4th of July because everybody's on vacation. But it dies down in July and August, right? People want to be in their house before the next school season starts. So why is that? All over the internet, articles like this are trending. So what we're seeing is we are seeing a year over year 2.5% decrease in home prices. So we know, we have said during this call many times, we have spoken several times about the affordability level, meaning that prices rose steeper than salaries did, right? Driven by higher mortgage rates, it was just very hard for people to afford a home. And how are sellers now make it up for that is they are willing to cut their prices, right? Sellers are sick and tired of their product not selling, and they're cutting prices. So on average, mainly in the west of America, and so not as much here in the east, but in the west, predominantly, prices are dropping overall nationwide by 2.5%. So take that in consideration when you underwrite a property, right? When you underwrite a property, I have always said, since I've been doing this podcast since we're coming up on 2 years, September of 24, it would be my first one. I've said for the last 2 years, like, if you underwrite, make sure you have a large buffer, right? We cannot underwrite on small budget anymore. Now, one other statement I made in the last meeting, so June 1st or something like that, in the June meeting, I said that I am betting that the oil prices would drop by the 4th of July. And I don't know why I said it. I just felt that based on everything that was going on in the world, based on the information that I had, that I really felt that oil prices would drop. And here we are. In June, prices were $81. They have dropped by 15.6% since the last meeting that we had. So oil prices dropped, and I was really hoping that oil prices would drop and that interest rates would come back down again. We saw a 33% increase in mortgage applications when mortgage rates were 5.9% back in February. February, March, we saw a tremendous increase in mortgage applications when mortgage rates were low. So I was hoping that the drop, when I said on the last call, hey, oil prices will drop before the 4th of July, I really anticipated that mortgage rates would drop a little bit more. They did drop year over year. They have definitely dropped. Year over year, they came down from 6.6% to now 6.4%. But it is not where I want it to be, right? Like we all want it to be around 5.9%. We want it to be around 6%, because data shows that if it's below 6%, 1.8 million buyers can afford a home again. And we as real estate investors, we want that real estate market to start, turning wheels again. We want higher volumes. We want higher sales, and that we want our product to turn. That's why we're in the market for. All right, unemployment is staying steady. Now, there is one caveat. There's one thing that I need to tell you is that there were the new job. I should have pulled that up. New job creation. The new job creation is very, very low. So the U.S. economy only added 57,000 jobs, which is incredibly low. And I can do that probably year over year and see how it compares to that. Low fire, yeah. It always remains very low. Anyway, so the job creation is something we have to watch for. Are we potentially, heading towards higher unemployment? High unemployment doesn't always mean a bad thing for the real estate market. Of course, people will be struggling buying a property, but with higher employment come lower mortgage rates. So it's a trade-off, right? If we have an economy that is firing on all cylinders and we're booming, inflation is high, we see that mortgage rates are high because the 10-year treasury is high. If we see unemployment pick up, mortgage rates will come down. It's that trade-off that we always have. What did I have here? Wanted to look at the housing market. I wanted to see, is the Raleigh housing market dropping as well? And I did not see that we are dropping 2.5% as a nation. One of the things that we do see, and I've been saying this for a long time now, that the downtown luxury market is growing. There's more people with wealth moving into the Raleigh area. So when you do flips, or you buy, or you're looking at property, consider this. Search and tear down search. Yep. We see that, people are tearing down old houses and building new. I'm going to show you a few projects here in Raleigh that I wanted to show you what is going on in Raleigh as well. What is the Fed doing? Next Fed meeting is end of July. Are we expecting an rate increase or a rate drop? We don't know. Our new Fed chair is not as open about giving hints. He wants to really change how the Fed operates, and wants to keep it a little bit more, keep his cards a little bit closer to his chest. So a rate is a rate hike coming? I don't know. I wanted to look something up, and I'm debating if I should discuss this. But one of the things that I couldn't find in an official article, but one of the things that Walsh is working with is how can he make interest rates cheaper, and how can he do if the Fed is printing a lot of money, pumping a lot of money into the market, and how can he change that? And I think moving forward that he is going to try to change how the Fed is pushing money into the market and making lending for banks cheaper, borrowing for banks cheaper, so that the balance sheet will offset that. It looks like the banks are pumping money into the market, where really the Fed is doing putting money into the market. Again, that is a little bit of speculation on my behalf. So take that with a grain of salt. But I do think the Fed is going to work the books to make it look like the Fed is not putting so much money into the market anymore. Year-over-year drop creation, we did that. There is one. I want to show you a few projects that are ongoing in Raleigh. I'm a Raleigh investor, Raleigh Care in Apex, so I happen to know a lot there. I'd like to hear from you guys where you guys are investing and what the news is there. Of course, every meeting I talk to you guys about Raleigh South. This is Raleigh South. Yes, we all heard about the potential of an MLB stadium or an MLS stadium. That is still in the works. The final decision will not be until 2027, so we can be talking about this for the next few more meetings, but there will be a major stadium here. What type of stadium, we do not know. If you drive into Raleigh, and I don't know if I can do street view from here and if it's updated. If you drive into Raleigh and you are here at this, coming at this bridge, all of this entire area has been taken down right now, and there's going to be a massive high-rise coming here in Raleigh. Of course, as you guys know, I have already spoken to you guys about the Raleigh Convention Center expanding. The Raleigh Red Hat Amphitheater is moving into this area, and right here, I don't know if you can do a street view here and if you can see it, but right here, at this parking lot, the Omni Hotel is currently building a big unit there as well. Why is this important? I am incredibly bullish on downtown Raleigh. I am very skeptical on investing in Durham. So you want to make sure that you look at where are people, where are the cranes, where are people building. What is a net migration? We can look at the net migration for Raleigh. We can look at the net migration for Durham. I can look at numbers and stuff. But the most important thing is that real estate transactions are up. When you underwrite a property, you make sure that you don't say, oh, okay, you know, real estate on average grows about 3%. So if I hold this property, it will grow. Yes, for the long run, if you have a rental property, but if you're a flipper or builder, you have to anticipate, you have to give yourself a little bit of a buffer and say, okay, you know, if the ARV right now is $100,000, let me aim for 3% lower and aim for $97,000 sales price. So I hope that makes sense. This was always my little fire round that I do in the beginning of the Q&A. Q&A stands, of course, for question and answers. So it's not me sitting here and just rambling off to you guys. As you can see, for those that joined later, I got my America shirt on. We're playing, or America plays Belgium tonight, and of course, it was the 4th of July. I celebrated with a good friend of mine, Ed, who's also on the call, actually on his deck there. So,
Erik, you just froze.
But you have, and then sit on mute until I give you until I answer your question. But if you have a question now, you can come off of mute and ask me a question so I can answer that, so we can start the Q&A. Who has a question for me? And otherwise I can start singing as well. Or we can just say, okay, good evening, see you later.
Oh, you remember my question was how to come up with the ARV. Well, how come
with an ARV? Really good question. So how I always do it, I go to Zillow. Oh, not Zillow, not now. So there are, you have software like this. You can go to Backstreet or PropStream. Those are paid software. I am not familiar with Volcano 7, but it comes up in the same search. So if you don't want to spend there in a software like this, I don't know if I can show you. I don't have it. I used to have a membership with basically I don't have it anymore. But normally what you do here is you type in your property address, it will search it for you, and it will tell you what the market value is. Of course, people say, but Erik, if I go to a property here, I see a Zestimate there as well. Well, I hate to remind you, but Zillow had once a I don't know. It was a software company as well that was predicting the market and was buying the market, like Mark Spain and all of those massive buyers, and they were basing it on their Zestimate. Their Zestimate is mostly wrong. You cannot. This is not. Do not look at this and say, "Oh, this is right," because I have seen on. I have seen on my house here on Cotton Place that as soon as I change this number is dropping as well or increasing. So it's just giving it a little bit of a buffer. So be aware that that don't always blindly trust his estimate. It can be right, but cannot be trusted blindly. Here's how I would do it, David. If I'm looking at, give me an address that is maybe I'll find one here. I don't want to do a townhome, so let me zoom in and let me see if I can do this one. All right, so we have this house. Don't know this house at all. I'm sorry if it's your house, but this house is currently offered at 525 at 1,800 square feet. So they're asking $282 per square feet for this house. And then I want to know, is this house, can I afford this house? So what I would do is I would open another tab. No. I would, no, go to Fayetteville. I would go to Raleigh. Because what you want to do is you want to look at, I always say 3 online and 3 offline properties. What do I mean with offline? 3 on the market and 3 properties that have currently closed. So this property is located, I believe it was in the heart of Raleigh. Yeah, so this property here is located in College Park. So I'm going to zoom in College Park. Yep, a little bit this way, a little bit this way. Okay. So the property should have been located in this area. So what I do is I remove the boundaries. I'm going to draw here, and I'm just do a little circle here, and I hit apply. I'm going to look at. Now we found another one. I'm going to look at how many beds and bed. I'm going to try to find the same one that we're just looking at. Sorry. If I just do this. At some point, I will go back. Yeah, here we are. So we have 4 bedrooms, 2 beds, and 18 square feet. So that's what I'm duplicate here in my.
Sometimes I hear you. It sounds like you be way in the back room. I hear you.
Here you go. And I am doing square foot. I'm going max. Go for 2,000, minimum for 1,500. I want to be in 10% difference of the target property. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to see what is this, how can I evaluate this property? I hit apply and nothing is coming up in my boundaries. So then I remove my boundaries and I go a little bit further out, but you want to stay as close as you can. So here you have 3 properties that are within 1,800 square feet, even 1,500 square feet. And then you want to do the newest as well. So you want to always go by the newest property. And what you do now is you look at the similarity of the property. So this property that we're looking at, our property is a little ranch house. So you want to also, and it has no garage. And so you want to find something that is similar. So you want to look at a ranch house. This is a ranch house with no garage. It was 1,900 square feet. You want to make sure it's in the area. Let me open this up. And that sold for 185 square feet. Then I want to find another ranch house. This is a duplex. I want to find another ranch house. Let's just take this one. And I'll take this one. So what I do now, David, I have 3 houses in the area that have a square foot price. So you see here is 185. Here is 351. And here, this one is offered at 355. So I'm going to add 351, 352, and 185. I'm going to add that all together because what I'm trying to find out is what is the average square foot price. If I'm done with that, I go back here to this screen and now I hit sold because now I want to find 3 off-market properties that, as again, newest that are similar to my target property. So I want to find a ranch property that's a split level. It's not really what I was looking for, split level. Here's a ranch property. Here's one. And here's one as well. So what I'll do now is I look at the square foot price of the sold properties. Again, 293. I add 293 on top of that. Here's another one for 353. I add 353 to my calculator. And then I have another one here, 434. Now I have 6 properties. I added them all up together. It's a total of 1,968 square feet. And because I look at 6 properties, I'm going to divide it by 6. And my average square foot price is 328. 328. And the property was offered at 282. Based on my first number, and based on the numbers that I just ran at 328, this property is priced a little bit under the value if I really took the time and looked in the same neighborhood. Now, this is a very general, very rough first, hey, let me look at the numbers, right? So if you run your CMA like this, or your ARV, or however you want to call it, that is one really rough free way of doing it. Of how to evaluate, how to look at what is the value of a property, if that makes sense.
I got you.
Tyler, you raise your hand.
Yeah, how you doing? Sorry, I don't have my camera going. I'm
No, you're
kind of
fine.
on the go.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, that was a spot on representation how to get the ARV. That's solid. I don't have prop stream yet. I definitely recommend that. But I just had a question. Generally, how do you connect with just other private lenders? I've been going to the networking events. How do you kind of position yourself to create a win-win situation that they'd want to work with you?
Good question. So how do you work with private lenders? I did a meeting on that last month in Fuquay, or the month before. What I see a lot is that, so a few things. If you struggle finding money, then ask the lenders why and listen to that feedback. So I've been getting money from people for the last 10 years, and I still use money. I use my money to lend, right? I have my money with somebody that lends it out. And I like it because I've always said that it's kind of a guarantee for me be a guarantee thing, right? Like if I get money, then it must mean that I'm looking at the right numbers and that the deal is correct. So, if you're struggling finding money, is that because the margins and what you're looking at are just a little too tight? Meaning, you think the property is worth 100,000, and where it's really like maybe 90, 95, and are you asking too high of an LTV, loan to value? Secondly, I'm not saying that's true, but it could be the case, right? Secondly, is are you a lot of people that are looking for money are focus on them. They don't focus on the WIFM for the lender. The WIFM meaning what is in it for me, meaning what's in it for the lender, right? They do a lot of look at me, look at me, look at me. Although that the lender is interested in the operator, right? If you borrow money, you manage a property, or you flip a property, or you whatever you do with a property, you are the operator. I'm an operator. I operate a business. I operate, but I hardly talk about myself. I show the lender, if you give me $1, this is your return. And then the third thing, what I normally see is, I get a lot of emails from people as well, and there's often not a clear strategy. If you're sending out a deal and you're saying, hey, Tyler, I'm looking for money for 123 Main Street. It could be a rental. Yeah, it could, or it can be a flip, or I can build something over there. I might be looking for $20,000 for a rental, or I'm looking for $50,000 for a flip, or I'm looking for $100,000 for a new build. That is confusing. People want to have it. You need to tell people, this is how I'm going to do it. This is what I'm going to do with this property. These are my 2 or 3 exit strategies if it doesn't work out. But this is what I'm doing with the property. And if you give me $1, this is going to be your return. So if you give me $100,000, this is going to be your return. And that's all they want to know. They want to know, if I give you if I give you my money, what am I going to get in return? And that's all.
Erik, you just froze again.
Oh, I'm back in. Did that answer your question?
Oh yeah, that was good. I just wanted your insight on it. That's really good stuff, and I think making sure it's a win-win and not always about make it more about the deal rather than yourself. I think that's a good synopsis, right?
Do it about the deal, and do it about what is the return for them. How do you secure it, and what is the security you give them, and what is the return you get?
And finding the private lenders, it's just a matter of, Google searching, posting on Facebook groups, going to events. Would you agree? Do you have any insight on that?
Be very careful. If you don't have an SEC fund, a regulated SEC fund, you cannot just publicly raise money. You got to be careful with that. There are some regulations that you have to obey by. Now, if you have a fund, SEC fund, you can raise money, you can post it online. How I've always done it, and I acquired 17 million in in real estate last year. All money that I raised. It's just by meeting people, word to mouth. If you make sure that your reputation is you worth more than $1 in your bank account, you will always find money.
Hey Erik, I have a quick question. Why do you always propose like private money versus like hard money lenders? Like I get fantastic rates and like 100% financing through like Kiavi. Is there any reason why you like really like private money? Because I'm closing deals in like 2 to 3 days, and like I just haven't even thought about it.
Yeah, and maybe I need to talk to your Kiavi person, but I did it once with Kiavi, and they said, oh, you can do 100% funding. I send them all my financials, send them all my deals. Hey, you qualified for 100% funding. I send them a deal, and they're like, yeah, it's older than 1980. The roof is older than 10 years. And I was like, dude, like, with what? And there were all these requirements and all these hoops I had to jump to. Private money is like, hey, this is what I'm doing. here's your thing. But if you can bring me, Brennan, if you can bring me in contact with somebody at Kiavi that I qualified so many times for Kiavi, and then there's always these stupid hoops that I need to jump through. Oh, it's in the wrong zip code. We don't do that.
The only like stipulation is you have to close like 5 deals with them first.
Yeah,
So-
exactly. Well, how do I get and that's everybody's problem on this call then, right? Because the first deal is always the hardest. Like I look at money now and I'm like, where
Right,
was
but I mean,
money?
even at the first deal, it's like 95%. Like if you can't bring 5% of your deal to the table, you probably shouldn't be.
Oh, they wanted to do my first deal 100%. But again, they wanted me to flip a new build. Right. They wanted this property to be less than 10 years old and no H, and the HVAC had to be like 5 years old and the roof had to be like 5 years old. I'm like, no, I'm a value add investor. So, no, they qualified me for 100%. And then I was like, good luck, man. I'm not doing, I like private money. The reason, yes, I pay more. But again, Brendan, you've been following me a long time. You and I have many conversations. I don't care about paying more. Why don't I care about paying more? The more I pay, the lower I offer. Like you, because you get different rates. If you and I compete for the same property, you might be able to offer higher because your interest rates that you're paying is less. It's just a numbers game, right?
Yeah, and what I do is like if let's say the rehab's like 45, I borrow like 60. So then I use that spread to pay for the mortgage.
Yeah.
You know what
Again,
I mean? So,
if you have a rep that you can recommend me, please bring me in contact. Maybe I just need to kick in that door once and just.
I was just wondering, because I always think about that, like the difference between private and hard money. But thanks for your feedback, Erik. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and there was a time when it went wrong also with me, right? I was a little over leveraged, and there was a time back in 2018 I had to call up all my lenders and say, hey, I am incredibly sorry. I am unable to make my monthly payment right now. How can we settle this? I want to make sure I make you whole. What can we do? I'm always very open and very transparent. That's also one thing you have to do. If things go wrong, do not put your head in the sand. Just don't. Just be open. So I said, hey, I'm struggling. What can I do? And we worked out with the private lender. We worked out a solution how to make payments up, right? That's one of the benefits I like about private is they can make
right,
they can make the rules and regulations. Yeah,
I got you. Cool. Thanks, Erik. I really appreciate your feedback.
Anytime, Brandon. Appreciate
Always
you,
good to hear what you have to say. Yeah.
Appreciate you. You mentioned Marianne is asking. You mentioned you have to have an SEC fund to raise funds. How do you get it? An SEC fund is hard. When I was trying to set up an SEC fund to raise money, you go to the attorney, you go to a specialized attorney. That specialized attorney will then set up the SEC fund, will send up all the documents, all the paperwork, everything that is involved in an SEC fund. And that means, what is your return? How much do you offer? Right? Like it is a very in-depth process. Then you have to make the decision, do you do it for accredited investors or non-accredited investors? They can also not be together. So then you have to have different type of funds with 506 B or C. Don't ask me anymore. I did it for a few years and then I stepped away, or I was looking into it, stepped away. This was over 2 years ago. Because also my lenders were like, what? Why all of a sudden do I need to go to this in all of this paperwork to show you that I'm accredited? Why does it matter? Why can we just not lend based on how we have always been doing it? So I started the process, had an attorney, paid for him, and then we decided not to do it.
So this is only for accredited investors. This is not.
No, you can also do non-accredited.
So how can you just not do it? You're raising private funds, right?
Because you have it, so it is by the SEC regulated. So you have to stipulate: is it for an accredited or a non-accredited investor? You have to. There are two different funds for that. Let me see the. SEC.
And I reckon a way to do that on a residential property is just to joint venture and give your investor equity, or if you're lucky, you can just give them a return on the funds they give you.
You can do that as well. How I always do it is one of the things is how I always do it is I make sure every investor that I invest in me, I met him. I met him over phone, met him over coffee. So there are some rules and regulations that you can do. Here, let me share here. And Marianne, you can Google this as well. But here is a non-accredited regulation fund. I don't know if it's a 506B or C. Anyway, there are some rules and regulations that you can do for a non-accredited investor. So you got there are things you can go into oil and gas. If you pay a lot of taxes, you could think about here 506B. That is the private placement. There you go. That's what I was looking for non-accredited investors. So you go to this SEC whole thing, and then you look at the safe harbor regulations and all of that good stuff. Did that answer your question?
Well, sort of. You said you just didn't do it. Like you just
Correct.
decided not to do it. So I'm wondering, how do you raise funds from private investors if you just didn't do it?
So I am not publicly posting that. I am. So what we were talking about is publicly.
Oh.
You can raise it, but I cannot go to Facebook and say, I cannot go to the News Observer in Raleigh and say, hey, my name is Erik Timmermans and I am raising money for this deal. Everybody that joins me, I give you 20% returns. I can't do that.
Okay, that's why you have to know them. You just build relationships, and that way you're not advertising. You're just negotiating. Okay,
Correct.
thank you.
That's why everybody's referred to me. Everybody I know, everybody that I've seen, everybody that invests in me. So those are the rules and regulations. I cannot go to Facebook and say, hey, I am looking for so. Right? I can get a slap on the hand. Yeah. What is your take? Anne is asking me, what is your take on commercial properties, co-working places? To invest in and to buy in, or what do you mean? Yeah, she's come off of mute. Let me see if I can. Cannot hear you. You're still on mute. Should be in the top bottom. The bottom left bottom. You see a microphone there. What I think about commercial is I personally I'm not a commercial investor, right? I don't have apartment buildings. I don't have stores. I don't have anything. Now there is a lot of people making a lot of money in that. The reason for me is COVID was really for me a driving factor in that. And you saw that during COVID, and hopefully COVID will never happen again, or maybe from a real estate perspective, I hope it happens again, right? Like I want everybody to buy real estate again, like during COVID. But from a lockdown perspective and all the terrible things that happen, I hope it doesn't happen. But you saw during COVID that commercial property owners were really struggling because everybody left the office, and the government, the owners that had a commercial building. Now, I was a landlord. I had rental properties, and yes, we had a moratorium that said, hey, landlords could not charge rent anymore to tenants, which then, was back paid. You saw that housing was mandatory, right? Housing was important. commercial properties were not important. So that for me has always been the driving factor. I always want to invest in something that I know I can sell. And a commercial property, I always have to sell a commercial property to a investor. It's never to a residential person. I have a 10 unit. And I thought I fix up the 10 unit, I make it nice and beautiful, sell it, and walk away from it like a flip. It didn't work like that. I still own it. Maybe I'll try to sell it here in a on market. I've been trying to sell it off market, but maybe I try to sell it on market here in a few months, because right now I'm finally fully occupied and I generate a lot of income. Now from a appreciation perspective, it's much easier, right? Commercial is fantastic for appreciation. You buy it from a landlord that is not operating it very well. You get higher rent, you get higher income, and you see that value of the property just rising. So you really, as an operator, you really control the value of the property. The more money you get, the higher the value of the property. But you're selling it to another investor. I always want to have a product that I can sell to anybody in the market. Now, you can argue that my $1.4 million homes, the homes that I'm building, is only for the wealthy. Yes, I understand that. But somebody has to live in that house. Commercial is an add-on. Is some, apartment buildings, people need to live in apartments. I don't like it. There's a lot of people making filthy money. Grant Cardone. There's a lot of people that make filthy money in single family homes. Pick a niche. And my advice is, whatever you pick, don't have shiny object syndrome. Because Ed is a lender. Ed makes filthy money being a lender. Then I can say, oh, okay, I'm going to be a lender. And then I see William succeeding in commercial. I'm like, now I go into commercial. That is when you lose the money. Pick one strategy, stick with it. It's going to be hard. You're going to make mistakes, but you're going to make money as long as you stick with it. That's my advice. Hope it helped. Thank you for joining. Any other questions? Brandon, you gave me the short shiny object syndrome with your new builds, Erik. Yeah. Sorry, Brandon. I had to get out.
Follow you for all these years, and you say flip houses, and then you said don't flip houses. Screw that. We're doing new builds.
Oh yes.
I'm like, I just got this flipping house thing down.
No, but if you do, man, and you're successful, do it, right? I still flip houses. It's just I got a little scared of the tiny margins that were in flipping. That just scared me a little bit too much. So I was like, hey man, I got.
What kind of margins were you targeting?
I was targeting 30. I had a minimum of 25,000. Either a minimum of 25,000 and a 10% cash return.
Yeah, I'm about the same right now. Like I try not to touch anything with 30K or 10% on like the ARV.
Where in my new builds, it will take longer, but I have a margin of 100,000, right? And so I can weather if the market drops 2.5%. On $100,000 buffer, it's much different than on a $30,000 buffer.
What's your recommendation for learning more about new builds?
Nessie plug. Join the new build webinar with that we do at TRIA. I do a show and tell once a month where I tell people how I got started in new builds. The majority of the TRIA board is currently we are currently builders.
Got it. Yeah, it's just tough that I'm in Florida.
But do the online new build. Do the online new build. It's online. Hey William, there is a lot of background coming from your line. Do you mind sitting on mute? Thank you, William. Appreciate you. Any other question?
I have one question, Eric, if you don't mind.
No, go ahead.
Oh, did somebody else have a question? I've been talking a lot, so go ahead if they did.
No, I said to you, go ahead.
I've been scaling quite a bit. I actually have 14 active flips going on.
Congratulations.
Yeah, it's really exciting. I have one partner. I think like I have a great team set up. What are the biggest things to watch for as I scale?
Systematize. Get a system. Figure
That's
out
what-
how.
Okay.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, you go.
Yeah, just figure out like how can you do it without going there? How can you scale your business by having to go to the properties? What systems are and things do you have in place that you can just work from your ivory tower?
So
Because-
that's something that I think I've done really well being in Florida, and everything's in North Carolina. I've actually
There
never
you go.
stepped foot in a single
Bum.
one of the properties.
There you go.
Which is pretty cool.
Done deal. Where are the 14 located?
Don't scoff at me, but I have a couple in Fayetteville. I've actually done really well on a few, so it gave me
Nice.
some confidence. Yeah, I just like that's a market where it's like I go in with like 15% margin, 20% margin.
Yeah.
Like I understand that there's going to be price corrections
Yeah.
and also I try to buy things where it's just me and my partner, so we're like very flexible. I try to find things that we can burr out of as well. So like multiple exit strategies.
Nice.
And
This-
then I'm scaling a lot into Raleigh and a couple in Durham.
Nice. Awesome. Congrats. Be careful with Durham, of course. You know my things about Fayetteville. Don't get overconfident. Don't get overconfident.
Thanks, Eric. Yeah, I'm really trying to just buy things where like I look at them and I'm like, that's a no-brainer. But I'm sure I'll be wrong a couple of times. So
Ed said it one time really good. He says, you need to make sure that you don't want to do the deal. Just keep talking yourself out the deal. And if you at some point, if you can't, it makes no sense to not do it, then just do it. But just make sure that you tell yourself, I'm not gonna, this is not a good deal. This is why I shouldn't be doing this. Why, and then if the deal continues to make sense, then you have to do the deal. Too many times people talk themselves into a deal.
I think that's great advice, Eric. Always appreciative. I love when I'm able to join these calls. You're the man.
I appreciate you, man. And you're doing impressive work. So keep it up. Keep it absolutely up. Dave said, how do you determine if a deal is good or bad? If the numbers work, David, it's just 1 + 1 is 2. 1 + 1 is never 3. And if the numbers work, the numbers work. Right. And again, to what I said earlier to Tyler is like, if you have a deal and you struggle with finding or buyers as a wholesaler, or you find trouble finding money, then that is telling as well, guys. Just so you know, my second year, I looked at 100 properties with one lender. 100. That was this English guy, Lewis, and him and I drove to 100 properties the entire year, and we only did 5. Right? I only closed on 20 deals. It's a numbers game. You're going to look at a lot of if you're looking at 5 properties a week and you're like, I am not closing anything, look at 10, look at 20 a week, and look how many you close on then. But don't get discouraged, right? Like if this was easy, I would be talking to how many people live in America right now? 300 million. I would be talking to 300 million people right now, because if it was easy, everybody would be doing it. Right? You gotta learn a market. I always say, focus on one zip code. Get familiar with that zip code, and then you're gonna go and specialize. Ed, you raise your hand.
I think one of the things you said, Eric, is really important, and I'll put it together. Know your market and stick to what you're doing. The shiny object syndrome bites a lot of folks, and you can specialize in a market and know it really well, and then there are folks in Fayetteville that are doing very well, but that's because they have locked in on Fayetteville. That's what their market is. They know the streets. They know what they're going to get for a property. Yeah, they're going to have some hiccups, but they know their market, and they're sticking true to what they are doing. It's when you start trying to diversify and add in 5, 10, 15 different things and spread yourself thin, but most importantly, you're spreading your attention into lots of different things. It makes it extremely difficult to be successful in every single one of them. Because you look at someone who's been in the game, so to speak, for 15, 20 years, and they might have 3 or 4 Airbnbs, and they have multiple rental properties, but that's because of the time they've been in there. They put a lot of time into, I'll guarantee you, most of them, if not all, but most of them spent a lot of time perfecting one specific thing to the point that they got it almost on autopilot, which gave them the freedom to be able to explore into another territory or another avenue. They may have built up a rental portfolio because of the mistakes they made in flipping. Maybe they were not a good flipper. So I think you said it well, the shiny object, stay focused, know your market. And I would say to Dave, one other thing, was asking about the ARV earlier, especially if you're newer in the process, find a higher volume realtor in the market that you want to be in. And I say higher volume, 75% of realtors do not buy or sell a single house in a given year. And so finding someone who knows the market you want to be in or you're looking in and have them assist you with a comparative market analysis is another strong way to get a reasonably reliable ARV for a property. So that's just a couple of things I wanted to mention. So.
Thank you so much. Yeah, an average realtor does 3 or 4 deals a year, average. Tyler, I see your hand. I come to you real quick. I have a question here. Do you need a buyer first, or do you need to get a property? There's no first name. There's a last name, Schreuder. I say the Dutch way, the way it's supposed to be. But can you come off of mute and explain yourself? Are you talking about from a wholesale perspective, or what is the angle that you're trying to do here? Do you need a buyer first or a property first?
Yeah, from a wholesale perspective, I'm Lisa, by the way.
Lisa. Hey, Lisa.
Mhm.
Thank you. So always get a property first. Now that I think about it, I could have just answered the question straight away. No matter if you're looking for a lender, no matter if you're looking for a buyer, always get a property first.
Okay.
Right? Because if I go to a lender and I say, hey, Lisa, I might have a property. I might want to borrow your money, and I might need $100,000. Is that going to make you money?
No.
Exactly.
But
if I come to you and I say, hey, Lisa, I have a property. I need $100,000. I need 6 months, and I'm going to give you XYZ returns. That's going to make you money. Same if you come to me, Lisa, and you say, hey, Erik, I might have a property to sell you. I might sell it to you for $350.
Right.
It might need $70,000 of repairs. I'm like, Lisa, come back to me when you have something, because might doesn't make me money.
Okay.
And that's scary. And that's the scariest part in real estate, is getting started.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, just do it. And if it's a deal, you will find a buyer. If it's not a deal, you say to the seller, sorry, I can't do it. Can I offer you, can we renegotiate the contract? No, we can't. Okay. Let's move on to the next one.
Okay. Thank you.
Anytime, dear. Thank you for joining. Tyler raised his hand. Tyler.
Hey, brother. Yeah, I just wanted to piggyback with David's question about how do you determine if a deal, and just correct me if I'm wrong. So nowadays, lenders like to be 80% loan to value. So basically, if you can be all in for maybe 75% of the ARV, the purchase price, including the rehab, it's a good deal. Would you agree?
I would aim for 70% LTV, for loan to value. So for those that are new, if the property is worth $100,000, and 70% LTV is 70K, right? So if the and the
You broke up.
30 minus 70 minus 30 is 40, you do not offer more than $40,000. One of the things, Tyler, but I didn't tell you.
I think you broke up for
No.
I'm sorry. I think you broke up the first couple sentences. If you could repeat that.
Yeah, sorry. I don't know what's going on with my internet. I've been struggling here with my internet. But if a property is worth $100,000 and you don't go over 70% LTV, you cannot go over $70,000. So if the property needs repairs for $30,000, 70 minus 30, you offer $40,000.
And that's a good deal. Yep. Okay.
And that's also why I'm able to find good money, because today I'm raising, and I'm looking at some of the people on this call that I sent this email to. Today I'm raising 3 million. Or I have a deal for it that I'm looking for $3.8 million. But the ARV is $5.5 million. So my LTV, my loan to value, I'm at 56% loan to value. I'm giving the lender so much security. It will be easy to find money.
Very good. And so your lead acquisition, is that on market, off market, your connections?
Off market. Connections.
Nice.
Yeah. I'm building, I can tell it now. It's probably going to make the newspaper, because a similar project made newspaper. I am going to be the only developer that is allowed to build in the Oakwood Historic District a condo unit, 2 houses from the government mansion.
Congrats. That's
So
awesome,
I'm building.
Well, thank you for taking time and enlightening all of us with your knowledge, man.
Hey man, it's life is boring when it's high tide. All ship needs to rise instead of just one ship. Everybody needs to rise, right? It's this. There's so much out there, Tyler. There's so much out there for anybody. There's enough for all of us out there. But I appreciate you saying it.
I agree. All right, 8 o'clock. Well,
8 o'clock. America game is going to be on. But we normally run a little bit longer. Do we? Any other questions?
I appreciate the insight, man. I got family over, so
Go ahead.
you take care. I'll connect with you, man.
Yeah, appreciate you. Anybody else have a different another question for me? Well, with that, I appreciate you guys joining. Thank you so much. Don't forget, we thank you, Lisa, as well. We have the main meeting this upcoming Thursday at 3. And this meeting, and for those that are looking for money, you need to sign up. This meeting is about how to raise money and how to find money. So join us Thursday. Thank you, David, as well. So Thursday, real estate investing using other people's money. So there is going to be a panel how to use other people's money. Again, if you're looking for money, I'm going to be there because I always look for money. And otherwise, I'll see you at some of the other 3 events. And thank you, everybody. Thank you so much for joining. Enjoy the game, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, Erik.
Thank you.
Thank you.